Here we are in the QBO gym, and the QBO gym is a place where we have numerous hands-on exercises that simulate real-life scenarios that you may encounter as a bookkeeper. Each month covers a variety of new topics and situations, and to make it a little bit easier for you, we break it down into 4 different sections. So if you're looking to work on your bookkeeping skills, this is the place for you. And if you want to do a deep dive and do a couple of these on your own, be sure to join our free 5-day challenge. All you need to do is just click on the link below in the description. But let's get into today's exercise, which is being pulled from our April Year 1 warm-ups section. At the top here, once I click into this page, is a little animated video to give you an understanding of what you, the bookkeeper, will be doing for Craig this month. He is our fictitious business owner. Further down is an interactive pre-assessment quiz. Below that are all of the exercises in this section. And at the bottom here, after you have completed all of the exercises in this section, you have unlocked some sample marketing posts that you can use on your LinkedIn to share with everybody what you have learned so far. So let's dive right into today's exercise where we're going to practice processing the money that Craig paid out this month, specifically adding expenses. So when clicking on this link, the exercise will pull up. I have it over here on the right-hand side, so let's read through our scenario. Craig has left you a stack of receipts for a variety of things he purchased since you were there last. You'll need to click on the link beneath the animated warm-ups video in the previous page or the gym here to grab a copy, as we'll use them for the exercise. So if I scroll back up here to the top, here is that animated video, and below that is this button that says stack of receipts. When clicking on it, it will download and open up this sample file. We have 3 different receipts that are showing. One says Tanya's, one says A1 rental, and the other one says car wash. So those are what we are going to use for this exercise. Now you need to be in the sample company to do this exercise. And if you're not sure how to get into the sample company or get your own free QBOA account, be sure to click on the link below in the description. I have the sample company pulled up here on the left side of my screen. This is the dashboard and where we are going to work for this exercise. And just as a note here, for this exercise and the 2 following it here in the warm-up section, you will need to be in the same session of the sample company because they all build on each other. So just keep that in mind as you are working through this exercise. But let's go ahead and get started. One of the challenges when receiving receipts is knowing which account they are paid out of. If you can't tell from the receipt itself, you'll have to ask Craig. For these exercises, we will assume that you spoke to Craig and he said he used his debit card to pay for the Tanya's and A1 purchases, but the machine was broken at Squeaky Clean Car Wash, and so he had to use cash. Also, we're not going to be working specifically with sales tax in these exercises, just as a quick note. So let's start with the receipt that is showing for Tanya's nursery right here. Even though it doesn't say Tanya's nursery specifically, we can reasonably be assured that it's the same. You could always check with Craig if you wanted to, just double check. So to get started with recording this expense, we want to click on the plus new button and then select expense. So back here in the sample company, the plus new button is on the top left corner of the screen. Go ahead and click on that. And then in the vendors column, you're going to select expense. Let's go ahead and fill it out once it appears for us. So in the payee field, we are going to select Tanya's nursery. So go ahead and click the down arrow and you can either scroll till you get to Tanya's nursery or you can type in her name. Either way is fine. Once you find it, go ahead and click on her name. Next, you will need to decide whether to add the items to the category grid or the items details grid. If Craig wants to track how many he has on hand or an inventory product, or how many he has purchased over time, a non-inventory product, they would need to go in the item details grid and must be set up in products and services. That is down here. If they are not, they can go in the category grid, which is this category details grid right here. In Craig's case, he tracks bags of soil, but he does not track bags of mulch. So we'll need to use both of those the detail grids, each one for this. And as a note here, before we start filling in here, we have this checking account because remember he paid with his debit card. And then for this one, the payment date, it defaults to today, but in a real life scenario, make sure that your date is matching the date of the actual purchase. It's really important when you are doing bookkeeping that your dates match. So it's just to keep that as a note, but for this exercise, we can just leave it as is. So let's go ahead and start filling this out down here. So on the first line of the category grid in the category field, we're going to select job expenses, job materials, plants, and soils. So if I scroll into or click into this, currently there is some information right here. And this is just because it's a setting in a sample company where I'll pull up stuff from the previous transaction. We're going to overwrite all of this. So just go ahead and click into that first line of under the category grid or category details grid in the category field. And we are specifically looking for the one that says expenses, job materials, plants, and soil. So we have job expenses, the sub account job materials, and then the sub account under that, which is plants and soil. Go ahead and click on that. Now note that if you start typing in plants and soil, you will be presented with what looks like two identical choices. The first option would be the expense account, and the second option is the income account, and they're in alphabetical order based on the full account name. So I'm just going to show you what that means. If I type in plants, there we go. We see both of them. It says plants and soil, plants and soil. They are the exact same name, but one is the expense account and one is the income account. In a real life scenario, if this is what happens, I would highly recommend changing the names so that it's not accidentally, so when you're doing bookkeeping, you're not accidentally clicking on the wrong one. So we want to click on this top one right here. So once you have that, then we can move on. So in the description field, we're going to type mulch. So click into that box, go ahead and type mulch. In the amount field, we're going to change what is currently there to $125 because if you look here, there's 10 bags of mulch for $125. So go ahead and delete what is currently in that amount box and type 125. Now, we don't remember he does not track the mulch, but he does track the soil. So we need to put the soil in the item details grid. So if yours is collapsed right now, go ahead and click on that arrow to open it up. And we are going to, in that first line, we are going to select soil. So click into that. You can click the down arrow and select it, which is just a couple of down. And you will see the rest of the information up here for you because this is a product that is in the products and services list. The amount that he purchased were 20 bags of soil. So we want to update the quantity field to say 20. So go ahead and type that in there. Now note that the total does not match the receipt. The description 2 cubic feet bag and the rate $6.50 come from the information in the products and services list, as I mentioned before. It seems that Tanya has raised her prices though, so you'll want to change this for future records. We'll do that a little bit later in the exercise, but for now we're just going to update the expense transaction. So if we go here, we can see that it is showing as $7.15 and it's a total of 143. And currently it's that $6.50 rate. So in the amount field, let's go ahead and type in here 143. When you hit the tab key over, you will notice that QBO has automatically updated this rate to match what is on here. It's done the calculation for us. Based on the number that we entered here. So now the numbers are matching what is on the receipt. So this is all done, but since we have more expenses to enter, we're going to click on the down arrow next to Save and Close and then select Save and New. So the down arrow is right here. Click on that, select Save and New. And that one for Tanya's has now been saved right there. And we have this new one open up for us. So A1 is a new equipment rental place that Craig decided to try out. So you will need to add them as a vendor. So in the payee field, we're going to type A1 rental and then click plus add new A1 rental. So click into that payee field, go ahead and type A1 rental. And then we're going to click on this plus add new so we can add them as a new vendor. This vendor card is going to appear for us. And at this point, we don't have any other information to fill out here. Of course, in real life, if you do, you definitely want to fill out as much information as you can on this card. But since we don't, we can just go ahead and click on the green save button right now. So go ahead and do that. We want to confirm that the payment account still says checking, which it does. And then because we cannot control the dates in the sample company, for most exercises, we accept the default date, which tends to be just today's date. For this exercise, however, because of how we will use this transaction later, we need to actually backdate this particular expense. So let's go ahead and do that. In the payment date field, we're going to type M and then we're going to type another M. So the typing in that first M is going to change the date to the first date of the current month. And then when you type the M again, it's going to change the date to the first day of the previous month. Now your dates may be a little bit different depending on when you are doing this exercise, but let's go ahead and do it as it says here in the exercise. Click into that, type M, and then type M one more time, and it should backdate to the first day of the previous month from what you were in. All right, so let's go ahead and fill this out because we are doing this for A1 rental. It just says $800. This is not something that's tracked. So on the first line in the category grid in the category field, we want to select equipment rental. So click into that and go ahead. You can scroll down just a little bit because it's just here. Keep in mind that this is an expense account. It's its own expense account. There is a sub account right here. That's not the one we want. We want the actual equipment rental expense. So once you find it, go ahead and click on it. And then in the amount field, we're going to type 800. So click into that amount box field, type 800. When you click out of it or tab key, you will see that QBO has updated the expense for us. And this one is all complete as well. So we are going to click on the Save and New button because we have one more to add. Click on the green Save and New button on the bottom right corner. And now that expense for A1 has been saved. And now we have a brand new expense transaction for us to fill out. Finally, we'll enter the receipt that says car wash, which is this one right here. Even though it doesn't say squeaky clean car wash specifically, you can be reasonably assured that that's where Craig had gone. You can always ask him, of course, if you need to double check. So in the payee field, we're going to select squeaky clean car wash. Go ahead and click into that. And then we're going to scroll down until we find squeaky clean car wash, or of course you can type it in. Once you find it, go ahead and click on it. Now note that the payment date is still showing as the first date of last month. This is because that is the payment date that we used in the previous transaction. In a real life scenario, you would want to update this to the date shown on the receipt. But with the sample company always adjusting their dates, it is difficult to use dates with precision in these exercises. So just leave it for now, as is for now. But just keep that in mind, as I mentioned earlier, dates are super important when you are making records, recording transactions here. But for the purposes of this exercise, just go ahead and leave it as is. Now, Craig told you that he paid for the car wash in cash, but where did the cash come from? If it was his personal cash, then it could be an owner's contribution or a reimbursable expense. But in this case, he says he paid for it out of a previously established petty cash fund. The problem is you have no record of this fund. Ideally, you need to find out all the details of when it was established, where the money came from to establish it, how much was originally in it, which expenses have been paid out of, and what, if anything, has been paid into it. So it's really, really important when you are opening up something new, especially a petty cash account. that you have all of those details, and you'll see why in a little bit. So unfortunately, Craig does not have any of that information. All he can tell you is that there is $5.01 left. This means that before the car wash, there was $25 in it. So at least we can record this, but having all of that other information is really, really important. So let's go ahead and see how we would do this. We need to create a new payment account for the petty cash fund. So in that field, we're going to click on plus add new. So click the down arrow in the payment account field, select plus add new. And when you do, you will get this new account form showing up for you. Now, the bank type or the account type, we're going to leave as bank, and the detail type, we're going to leave as cash on hand. As you can see here in the description, it tells you what that's for, which is petty cash. We need to update the name field though, so we're going to type petty cash. So delete what is currently there. Go ahead and type petty cash. It's pretty self-explanatory, so we don't need to have a description here. But because you don't have any of the additional information about the history of this account that we were talking about earlier, we're going to use the dropdown to indicate that we want QBO to start tracking it beginning today. So go ahead and click in this box right here and select today. In the text box down here asking for the account balance, we're going to type 25 to indicate the balance in the account before today or before the car wash. So go ahead and click into that. Go ahead and type 25. And then we are going to save and close this. Go ahead and click on that green button. And now we can move forward with filling out the rest of this information. So on the first line in the category grid in the category field, we're going to select automobile. So click into that. It should be the first one or the second one here. So go ahead and click on it once you find it. The amount for this was $19.99. So let's put that in the amount field. And since this is the last of our receipts, all we need to do is click on the down arrow next to Save and New to select Save and Close. So go ahead and click on that down arrow, select Save and Close. And now that expense for Squeaky Clean Car Wash has been saved. Now, before we wrap up for the day, let's go back and update our products and services so that the next time Craig purchases some soil, the cost per bag is correct. So to get to that product service list, we're going to click on the gear icon and then select products and services. The gear icon on the top right corner, click on that. And then under lists, you're going to select products and services. Let's find the soil product and then click on edit. So scroll down on the list until you find soil. It is under the landscaping category right here. So once you find it, go ahead and click on edit. Now notice that there are two places to indicate a price. This one right here, as well as this one, the sales price, as well as the cost. The first one is that sales price, and this is how much Craig charges his customers for the soil. Since the cost of the soil has gone up, you may want to suggest to Craig that he also increase the sales price. But for the purposes of today, all we're going to do is just adjust the cost, or what Craig pays the vendor. So what he had paid Tanya, which was the second, which is indicated by the second number. So if you remember, the cost of the soil is now $7.15. So in the cost field, we want to delete what is currently there and then type $7.15. And then we are just going to click on Save and Close. So click on the green Save and Close button right there. And now that has been updated. You can see the cost has been updated now for the soil. And that is how you would add expenses. Now, if you like this exercise and you want to do more like it, be sure to join our free 5-day challenge. All you need to do is just click on the link below in the description. If you'd like to continue in the warm-up section, be sure to leave this session of the sample company open, as you will need it for the next exercise where we practice processing the bank feeds. And I will see you in the next video.